later on, they get to this part where they're talking about more action in the near term. So this is on page 38. And they talk about knowledge and technology transfer can help enhance the sustainable use of natural resources for food security under a changing climate. Raising awareness, capacity building, and education about sustainable land management practices, agriculture extension, and advisory services, blah, 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 can help effectively address land degradation.
Oh, yeah. The old-fashioned technological innovation to do things sustainably.
Well, it was so funny. Once again, I had to stop reading here and walk away again because this quote-unquote knowledge transfer oftentimes is scientists and agricultural experts who have rediscovered indigenous old ways of farming that we know are sustainable, like finding this again and then taking it as like a new discovery and helping people apply it. So recently, Daniel and I were at Biosphere 2, which is famous for the failed experiments in the early 1990s of trying to create an entirely sustainable closed loop system to prove that such something would be possible, on Mars or something.
This was in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing place. It's an amazing facility. It feels like a cult. If you're ever in Tucson, I would highly recommend checking it out. But the place is now owned by the University of Arizona now, who uses it to research a lot of different things. And there's a lot of different biomes in this amazing closed facility. They can do a lot of very interesting experiments there. It's amazing what they can do because of what was built for hundreds of millions of dollars from this billionaire who, I don't know what his motivation was. But one of the things they had there that I thought was funny, and there's actually a couple experiments there I think that are relevant to this show. But one of the things they had there was this tour guide who's taking us around, and he introduces us to these little, boxes of dirt they have that have plants growing in them, and the plants look pretty healthy. And he's like, let me show you an ancient invention that we're now testing again. And it was basically just a terracotta pot put in the soil, and you fill it up with water and you cover the hole in it. And because it's terracotta, it breathes, it lets the water out, and it does so at a slow, measured way. And the roots of the plants around this pot come in and absorb it, and it's a very efficient way to use water, which is obviously especially important in desert environments like Arizona. And this is an ancient indigenous process they took from local indigenous populations who had been using this for thousands of years before we came in and taught everybody how to farm and how to grow, Pima cotton on mass scale and industrial scale, which is one of the famous agricultural inventions of the University of Arizona there in Tucson and Pima County. And you drive past, you're in the middle of the desert, and then you drive past these endless lines of pure green cotton fields.
Yeah.
It's more hardy than traditional cotton, but it's still a water-intensive plant, as we've talked about, especially in that fast fashion episode you mentioned, Daniel. And it's so funny to me that we're in this billions of dollar facility, and they have a decent section set aside to just trying to understand this old indigenous method of growing things sustainably and making sure that you're not impacting water use too much and land use too much. And it's a new piece of knowledge and technology that they're hoping to expand and then take out to farmers all around the world. And this is the kind of knowledge transfer that the IPCC is talking about right here. This is study and research that's happening right now. And they pitch it as this like, oh, we're going to go and teach these uneducated groups, which is often a coded word in these things for third world nations, developing nations that don't have, the industrial might that, companies like Torcivia or other these ag science companies can come in and like show you quote unquote the right way to do stuff. And oftentimes they're bringing technology that they pulled from the indigenous populations of these populations in the first place, making it sciencey. Oftentimes that comes with a company packaging it and making profit off of it, and then bringing it back to these places that they took it from, made them forget because we imported and forced upon our old traditional industrial European style of agriculture. And we've gone full circle. But we're the savior in this situation. The IPCC is pushing this as like, this is how to save the world, and ignores the fact that their fellow scientists that came ahead of them, that were pushing this ag science green revolution, are the ones that fucked it all up in the first place. There's no awareness or admitting anywhere of any guilt or of any knowledge of the past or the systemic issues that led us to this. And that was so frustrating. And I realized, this is a summary. Maybe that would turn off the politicians and stuff, policymakers who are reading this, but we will never fix these problems without examining the roots of why they're problems in the first place. This is a report about treating symptoms.